In 1556, Shaanxi province, China, suffered the deadliest earthquake ever recorded. Entire villages vanished, leaving scars across the land and a staggering number of victims in its wake. Earthen houses collapsed under their own weight. Families dug through piles of debris searching for anything. There were no rescuers. Only those able to crawl out survived. Ancient brick walls folded like a card house. Desperate villagers scrambled through ruins, hoping to find a living soul among the unbroken silence of destruction. Fields, once busy with farmers, became split by a deep chasm. Survivors wandered across scorched earth, searching for relatives in a transformed, hostile world. The dead were buried quickly. Simple stones marked mass graves as families mourned at sunrise, saying their final goodbyes while the aftermath was still only beginning. Monks prayed among the collapsed temples, incense burning between shattered statues. Faith stood powerless in the face of nature's wrath, while the land lay in ruins. The Ming-era city gate was left half destroyed. Survivors carried injured neighbors on improvised stretchers, moving chaotically through clouds of dust and echoing cries. In 1976, Tangshan, China, an earthquake struck overnight with a magnitude of 7.6. Upwards of 655,000 lives lost. Nearly the entire city crumbled, rescue operations overwhelmed. Workers pulled trapped survivors from wrecked factories. Cranes and trucks labored day and night. The chance of finding anyone alive fell with every passing hour. Entire residential neighborhoods were erased. Crushed cars and scattered toys lay in the debris. Even children searched for lost relatives in the cold morning light. Makeshift clinics filled with wounded. Doctors worked without sleep, bandaging injuries, performing surgeries on camp beds. Every survivor pulled from the rubble was a miracle. Tens of thousands lived in makeshift tents in city squares. Possessions scattered in the mud, homes lost forever, and the future uncertain for so many. Posters of missing persons covered the shattered telephone poles. Relatives put up new flyers daily, clinging to hope that someone from their family might still be found. Soldiers cleared the rubble for days. Bulldozers and hand tools, engines roaring, everyone worked in tense silence, all to save the few remaining survivors. In 2004, the Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami killed over 230,000 people in 14 countries. The shoreline was erased, triggered by a rupture deep beneath the ocean floor. Beaches were covered in wreckage, broken boats, and homes. Rescue workers helped children, searching for survivors in devastated fishing villages all along the coast. People clung to fallen trees, waves sweeping away everything. Shock and loss etched into survivors' faces. Many would never see their families again. Cremation pyres burned on hastily built sandy grounds, makeshift graves, smoke, prayers, and tears. It's hard to mourn when thousands are lost at once. Hospitals were overwhelmed with casualties. People lined the floors, doctors pushed to the limit. Survival was an exception, not the rule, in the chaos. In the mud, survivors wiped old photographs, remnants of lost life blurred by water and dirt. All personal history erased, save for the memories in faded images. From above, entire towns lay underwater. People waved desperately for help, bridges and roads destroyed, and all connections with the outside world shattered by disaster. In 1920, China's Haiyuan region was devastated. Around 273,000 lives lost. Towns vanished in landslides. For years, the land remained cold, empty, and scarred. Farmers dug through ruins, searching for something, anything, to salvage. Frozen wind and exhaustion marked the days as the pain of loss became an everyday reality. Entire communities were buried by landslides, Only rooftops, trees, and silence remained. Surviving voices carried through the still air, hoping someone listened. Rescue teams trudged through knee-deep mud with stretchers. Urgency marked every gesture, knowing each moment could mean a life saved or lost. A deep crack split the old town road. Lanterns and carts left behind, all normal life abandoned or buried by the disaster. In snow-covered fields, rows of graves stretched into the distance. Families prayed in quiet, and fresh crosses slowly faded under winter's dust. The local temple barely survived. Buddhist statues toppled amidst the ruins, and monks lit incense, hoping hope itself might survive the cold. In 1908, Italy's Messina was hit by disaster. Over 100,000 dead. The city and harbor completely erased, nothing left but broken monuments and memories. Locals picked through the ruins of columns and mosaics, hoping to find a survivor. Women wept, shifting stones for a last sign of their loved ones. Public gardens became refugee camps, tents circled by ruins, little food or clean water. Fear and uncertainty became the city's only certainties. Rescue teams pulled victims from the rubble. The work was cold, grim, thankless. The smell of death hovered over each scene in the shattered city. Rail bridges collapsed into the sea, carriages and twisted tracks scattered. No one could cross. Tragedy left even the landscape unrecognizable for decades. A single child's shoe rested on marble steps. Lost and forgotten, it marked a life cut short by random disaster. Grief ran deeper than rubble. Priests walked among the debris, leading candlelight processions for the dead. Mourners followed, their faces streaked with tears, shadows dancing in the destruction. 1755, Lisbon, Portugal. 100,000 lost. Earthquake and tsunami turned ancient churches and entire districts to ashes, crushing centuries of history in minutes. Markets filled with panic. People ran through squares, carts overturned, terror on every face. Few found true shelter in the city's sudden chaos. Historic neighborhoods went up in flames. Bells tumbled, sparks seized pages of books, and fire consumed stories that would never be told again. In ruined hospitals, nuns tended the wounded by candlelight. Blood mixed with darkness. Every corner seemed haunted by suffering and desperate prayers. At the shattered docks, survivors scavenged planks, clinging to debris. With ships sunk, even waiting for help seemed impossible. The ocean had erased all order. Families huddled together, shielding children from disaster. Even in tears, faith held strong, if only for another fleeting moment of hope. Royal messengers announced calls for aid to nervous crowds. People listened, understanding that recovery now depended on solidarity and instinct for survival. 1948, Ashgabat, USSR. In seconds, entire neighborhoods vanished. Over 100,000 dead. Daily life wiped away by clouds of dust and devastation. Turkmen families picked through the ruins, carrying water, searching for relatives. Any small help was cherished as salvation in a world where everything else was lost. Soviet soldiers set up tents and handed out bread and soup. A hot meal offered brief comfort against the cold, fear, and hunger. In the dirt, ruined portraits and torn documents told stories of lost families. Official stamps meant nothing. Even identity had been ripped from the past. Lines for medical care grew longer. Mothers with babies, the elderly, everyone waited, desperate, as doctors tried to bring relief amidst exhaustion. Outside the city, graveyards sprawled. Simple markers and real flowers marked an end for generations who fell together that night. The ancient city gate was cracked. Men prayed, women cried. Custom and tradition evaporated into the gray dust of disaster. 1975. Haicheng, China. The world's first mass earthquake warning saved tens of thousands, but destruction still killed thousands more. The city was forever changed. Sirens sounded and people fled into the cold. Police tried to direct panicked crowds. Icy air mirrored the fear in every breath. Loudspeakers broadcast emergency warnings. Flashing lights sped through the chaos, leaving neighborhoods frozen, not ready to grasp the coming disaster. Scientists tracked their seismographs with tense focus, radios crackling. Every second counted. Every reading might mean a life spared or lost. Schools and playgrounds collapsed in the freezing air. Abandoned toys and empty silence replaced children's laughter. Winter exaggerated every layer of loss. Newspapers ran headlines, miracle rescues, and mass evacuations. Hands trembled as survivors read about hopes that were realized or dashed in the quake. Around heaters, survivors shared memories. Relief blended with grief. Not everyone escaped. Each story was a reminder of what was truly lost. 1990, Iran. The Manjil-Rudbar earthquake destroyed 700 cities. 50,000 dead. An entire country marked by a tragedy that rewrote its history overnight. Rescue teams with stretchers moved through ruins. Local villagers searched for loved ones, trying to reclaim anything unbroken by the disaster. Fields and mosques were shattered. Animals wandered aimlessly. Towns wiped off the map completely, with nothing but ruins left behind. Hospitals overflowed. Nurses and doctors worked anywhere they could. Saving even a single life meant defying the odds in the shadow of destruction. Railroads twisted. Roads were impassable. Relief tents formed endless rows. Trucks flying Iran's flag arrived with vital supplies for the homeless. Volunteers gave out bread and water. In tragedy, unity kept people alive. A community's resilience stronger than any destruction. Women and families wept by burial sites, scarves stained with tears and earth. Each grave held stories of shared loss and a nation in mourning. 2011, Japan. Tohoku earthquake and tsunami. Nearly 18,000 dead. Thousands still missing. Entire towns erased. Power plant fires. Radioactive water reshaped the landscape. Coastlines lay in ruins. Seawalls and villages were swept away. The rising sun silhouetted total devastation across miles of debris. Tsunami waves swallowed vehicles, cities, and lives in seconds. Panic and confusion swept the streets. Many people had little time to react or escape. Fishing towns became lakes. Houses floated in cold water. Once familiar neighborhoods, destroyed by days of relentless flooding and destruction. Divers searched underwater for the missing. Teams risked their lives for a chance at closure, finding survivors or recovering lost memories in darkness. At Fukushima Daiichi power plant, smoke billowed as nuclear crises grew. Robots and workers fought to contain disaster while radioactive warnings sounded. Among the wreckage, personal belongings, diaries, photos, jewelry, marked silent heartbreak. Dreams washed away, survivors left with almost nothing but loss. Relief centers gave survivors blankets, hot food, and a fragile sense of hope. Families clung together behind shattered walls, facing the ruins together.